It's just like a general direction that should help you to get there when you just can't hear it because you don't have the equipment and the room. Hey guys, welcome to the studio. It's a perfect day. It's raining, it's cloudy. That's just the best you can ask for, to just sit the entire day in the studio and produce music. And on top of that, it's a Saturday and no one here in the office. It's just me, so I can fully 100% focus on just sitting here, enjoying the new speakers, and work on that cover song that I recorded a month ago here in the studio when the back wall was still completely unfinished. But since it's a cover, I can't really share with you the production process, at least this time. Instead, I was thinking about showing you how to actually properly mix a song if you don't have decent speakers, if you don't have headphones that are meant for mixing, if you don't have an acoustically treated room. There are still some small techniques that will make it possible to get really close to a professional mixed and balanced sound. Because just like 3 months ago, I didn't have this place and my previous studio was nice and was actually good for mixing. But before that, I just had like tiny small speakers and I still managed to pull off a song that was actually released. Not the best, but I'm still proud of it, at least for the time, 10 years, or is it like 8 years ago. It's still holding up. Like, it's not perfectly mixed and I hear a lot of mistakes now that I learned more, but it was good enough to get out on a label and actually even enter the BEATPORT charts, the top 100, I think it was Deep House or Tech House charts. So all of that coming up in a tiny bit, me first producing for a couple of hours and then telling you all of those secrets. So far, a really successful session. I wish I could share that song with you. It really sounds great. I hope I will get the rights to release it. Since it's a cover, I first need permission. But let's actually get to those techniques that I used to use at the very beginning. The first one, I actually already made an entire video about it. It's all about using a match EQ. So it's a plugin that is provided with Logic. But there are also third-party plugins that make match EQs. So basically you scan someone else's song that is similar to yours. Best is if it's in the same key and if it's stylistically very close. And then you scan it, you analyze it, and then you do the same with your song. And it will then apply the frequency balance of that other song onto your own. And you can then adjust how many % of that you want to apply to your own song. And even if you don't leave that on, I would usually advise to just get rid of the plugin again. It will give you a hint where things are missing in your song. So maybe let's just do it with the song that I'm working on. I can't play it to you, but let's match it against my single that is coming out in a week. You know what, let me actually just mute the vocals and I can play it to you. So as you can see, that's the frequency response of the song I'm working on at the moment. So I click on current and learn. It will now detect it, analyze it. Usually 10 seconds of the main drop are enough. Pick a part where most of the things are going on, where you can detect most of the frequencies to get a good picture of the song. And now basically just doing the same, just this time hitting the reference knob, soloing the song, and hit play. And then it's all about just hitting match. And this is the difference between both songs. It's now applying a curve, an EQ curve, onto the one that I'm working on right now. And as you can see, it wants to remove bass, like really low bass, and also the upper bass, the mids are missing, and in the top as well. And you could now leave it and listen to it. It will sound weird because it's pushing things and pulling them out where there might be nothing. So for example, if you compare an instrumental versus a vocal song, It will try to push the mid frequencies because the vocals are missing. It will try to emphasize those frequencies because it's missing the vocals. And this should give you the clue not to raise the mid frequencies, because there is nothing. You need to add something in there. For example, it might show you, I think that's like the #1 beginner mistake, that you have too much low end going on, too much below 50 hertz. Then it should tell you to low cut. Maybe not low cut everything, maybe everything except for the kick. Apply the Magic Cue again and see if it works. If it's still too much low end, then maybe even lowering just the volume of the kick and opening up the song, giving more space to all of the other elements. Same for the top end. If your song's very dull, the Magic Cue will show it to you immediately compared to that other song. Be careful with the songs that you pick. If you pick a song that is mixed wrong or bad, it won't help you a lot. So pick someone's track that is just really good, and again, similar in style. And sometimes you can even leave the Magic Cue on, maybe just like 20% of it, to smooth out your song and kind of give it a fake mastering EQ curve. Just then hit match and unmatch again to check how it sounds with and without. And if it sounds better with, then maybe just leave it on. It's really up to you. And as you know, at the end, it just counts what it sounds like. If you use the Magic Cue or not, no one really cares. The product at the end is what counts. And if you need a Magic Cue to get there, then just use it. Just be careful not to ruin your entire song with it. If you leave it at 100% and match a classic song, yeah, this won't sound good, I can promise you that. And then of course there are a lot of other settings you can play around. The smoothing will make it more accurate. You can link and unlink the left and right channel and switch it from linear phase to minimal and minimal zero latency. And it will basically at the end just help you to A and B reference one song to another. If you're not experienced, if you don't have the speakers, the headphones or whatever, you might not be able to hear it. The Magic Cue will do it for you, give you hints, help you to advance with your productions, fill out your song in certain frequency spots where something is missing, and just give you a general EQing curve that might get your song to the next level. I'm not sure what the Magic Cues of other companies for Ableton or whatever DAW you're using are called. Maybe someone can leave it in the comments and help the other people out. I'm sure that there are third-party Magic Cues available. But now let's actually get to the second tip. It's quite similar, because if you can't hear, you have to do it with your eyes, which I would never advise the producer. It's all about what you hear. But if you don't have the proper gear and acoustic treatment, you just can't hear what you're doing. And even if you can hear what you're doing, an analyzer is still a great tool. I use the Span Analyzer. It's for free by Voxengo. I use it basically every day, every single time. It's at the end of my mastering chain, so I can just open it up and see what I'm actually doing, because sometimes you're working for hours and hours and your ear gets used to it, and even A and B testing it compared to other songs might not help. And just one look at the graph gives me a general overview where I'm at with my song. Is there too much bass, too little bass, too much mid frequencies, too much top frequencies? And basically how you do it is you just have to open up the Span Analyzer and listen to music, and while listening to the music, watch it and see what it does and what it means, and kind of try to read the song by looking at it. So for example, here in the song, we can immediately see that there is a quite strong bass. The kick is every now and then popping right underneath of it. It's sitting at 45 hertz. The bass sits above it and plays those different notes. That's why those peaks are switching. Then we have here a gap where the upper bass sits. This song doesn't really have an upper bass. It's more about the chord sound that is layering the bass. That sits right here between 200 and 600, 800 hertz. Then the vocals are those peaks that just pop out here. The very top here, also up and down those peaks, are usually the hi-hats, the off hi-hats. I think I don't have to explain that we go here from 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz, and here we got the loudness. This graph really shows you the frequency response. Let me go into the edit tab just to show you the settings really quick so you can compare it. I think those are the default settings, except for the block size. I changed it to 8,000. Don't do the mistake and look at it and look at someone else's song and be like, okay, like someone else's bass is 1 dB up or down. Don't take it for so precise things. It's just like a general direction. if you have like a tilted mix with too little low end, too much top end, it will show it to you immediately, and you can then correct it by just adjusting the volume of those elements sitting in those frequency spots. It will also immediately show you gaps. A lot of beginners make the mistake, they have the kick, it should be around 50 Hertz, and then they maybe have the bass, the sub bass, an octave too low, and the bass is underneath of the kick and it's just muddy. Then you can, with the analyzer, just see, if you can't hear it, that you have to maybe switch it up one octave. Also, for example, if you make techno music, underground club music, you usually have more like an U shape, more bass, more top end, less mids. For pop music, back in the days it was the other way around, more mid frequencies. If you listen to some old Michael Jackson songs, they were very, very, very mid heavy. Has to do with the speakers back then not being able to reproduce so much bass, and also like stylistically for that time. Nowadays it's very, very bass heavy. If you listen to some Drake songs, it's extremely bass heavy. So they're either flat or they have like really a little tilted curve and a little bit too much bass, at least for my taste. So these are my 2 tips that helped me a lot over the past 10 years. As I said, the span, I'm using it on every single song, and even the Magic Cue I sometimes try it out if I'm stuck with my mix or at the very end, and maybe see if 20% on it will kind of smoothen out the song and give it like a tiny boost. With both of these, be careful. There are sneaky ways. They can harm your mix more than help. Don't look at the analyzer and be like, it has to look like this other song, and build your song because it looks like the other one and it just sounds shit. It's just like a general direction that should help you to get there when you just can't hear it because you don't have the equipment and the room. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching. Let me know in the comments about your sneaky ways, how to kind of get around not having the right circumstances to make really good music. And I will just spend the rest of this rainy day here in the studio working on this new song.